What's up, everybody? I'm back. D's back. Watch out. Woo! Wow. Just wow. What an experience that there has been going on collectively over the last, 30 days, right? We're really seeing the forces show their hand, right? And we're really seeing the counterplays that can be taking place, right? So without further ado, I am D. Welcome to Guiding D Light, because together we are Guiding D Light. I'm finally feeling alive again, guys. Like, I was beat down, and I don't know. I didn't think I was really going to explain this to you, but I feel like I need to go into it so I can get it off my chest, and that way some of this truth can really make it out there, and maybe you guys can take a few pieces of it and integrate it into your existence and really understand, collectively we're all dealing with it, right? So a couple weeks back, I was diagnosed with the coronavirus. So I'm like, there's no way, right? I feel fine. And then it hit me. It wasn't like, a little scratchiness in the throat and I feel like a cold coming on. No. This was like I was perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden it was like weight, density, body aches. My temperature, core temperature went through the roof trying to get rid of the virus, right? That's what your body does. It heats up, tries to get rid of the virus. So I'm dealing with this, right? And I kind of pause and I think back, and I'm asking Source, I'm like, why? Why did I have to experience this, right? I didn't want this in my existence. I felt like my energy was high enough not to get it. And he reminded me of two things. One, the situation around me, right? For me to be living with my wife was diagnosed first. She was going through the symptoms. For me not to get it and have some symptoms, it's like a sympathy thing, right? I wouldn't have had as much sympathy for her, right? And then in the same sense, we're in the same boat together, right? So, and then I did say a few times, like, you might as well get it over with, right? So obviously you got to be careful what you bring into existence. Unfortunately, I had to deal with it, but in the same sense, I felt like God made me deal with it because he wanted me to understand the circumstances, right? This isn't like an organic virus. This is a man-made projection, right? And so we all know the brown ray, right? You hit a certain frequency, everybody browns their pants, right? Well, they were doing the same similar kind of experiment, but with the frequency of the Rona, right? So the Rona comes in, frequency, I dropped, kind of my own fault. That's a different story. But I picked it up, right? And I contracted it. And now it's inside of me, right? And so this lower vibrational man-made thing is inside of me, right? So I'm like, close my eyes, run my chakras, pull that energy up, make my toroidal field expansion, right? Didn't do anything. And it was very discerning for me, because it's like, wait a minute, I'm this powerful being. I've stepped into my existence. I know my personal progression. And then, as I step into that existence, then this happens, right? Why does this have to happen to me if I already understand and I've accepted my sentientness, right? My sentient being, right? I am a sentient being. So I was fighting it and battling it back and forth. And what it really came down to was, this is a man-made frequency and a virus. And once you get it, no matter how much frequency you push through it, your body's got to naturally, work it out, right? So as it works out, you see that word? As it works out, we become freer, right? And I kind of put my thing back. But what I'm saying this is, it didn't affect me through breathing and my respiratory system. No, it was all mental, right? It sent me into a little bit of a depression, right? I'm in this lower energy and I can't get out, right? And after a couple days of it, I'm finally like, okay, how do I do this, right? And the way it was explained to me was, well, you're putting one foot into the collectiveness and you're putting one foot into the power of God, right? Take all of your essence and put it in the power of God and you shall be healed, right? Finding Jesus, connecting yourself back to source. And it's like, well, I've done that. And they're like, yeah, but you skate away from it because you want to try to help, but you're helping in the wrong way. And I'm like, well, how's that helping in the wrong way? If I'm dipping my frequency, observing, right? Not casting any judgments, not causing any malice or anything. And then I'm bringing that information up to a higher consciousness and healing it, right? Transmuting it, going through it. Well, a coronavirus didn't quite work like that. So maybe some of you guys know, maybe some of you don't. look, I'm a couple weeks removed and I'm just now getting my juices rolling again, right? Just now coming back to that spark of creator, right? So the reason why I'm saying all this is there's this energy manipulation, right? It just broadcasted out. And because of the certain situations I was doing and the different modalities I was playing with, I left my shields down. I was receptible. I picked up the energy thinking I could transmute it. When I picked it up, I inherited it. Not knowing that simple transmutation of everything else that I'd done, because look, it's a man-made thing, right? It's not organic. There's a mechanism behind it, right? The frequency's driven from a certain location. Some of you guys have been behind the scenes. Some of you guys know that's what we're working on. We know where those frequency waves come from, right? But why is that even possible? Why are they even allowed to do that, right? It's very disheartening to me. It really irritates me. But in the same sense, I look past it, right? I see the play and I'm like, you know what? That's okay. Because now I know in my head what that red cloud of coronavirus mist looks like, right? And now I can quantify it and I can help change. It still kind of irks me that you can't just transmutate it like some of these other things. Like a bad thought about you, right? You can get rid of those real quick. But this corona thing is very interesting. So moving on, right? We're at this crescendo, right? Our consciousness are expanding. There's going to be a spiritual warfare, right? There has been a spiritual warfare, right? I don't like to talk about it too much because I don't want to scare people, right? Because fear and scare and stuff, that's just not the way to be. We want to be fearless. We want to be able to change and step into anything that we desire, right? So to have that little bit of fear, and I don't like putting anything like that out there. But it's very important for us to know we are under a consciousness warfare, right? And it's taking place through the coronavirus. But not only that, the election, right? Take a look at last time. Do we remember 2016, the dossier that came out from the elites going back and forth that said God intervened? God won the election. Okay? Hillary Clinton was supposed to win, but God intervened. Okay? Do we remember that? Because God intervened, right? Through us, the people. Okay? So how did that happen? Prepare for it. And in 2020, come up with a system that beats God. Right? They're trying to trump God. Okay? So they're showing their hand, right? And it doesn't take a very high IQ score to figure this out, guys. Come on. I mean, pretty much anyone who wants to pay a little bit of attention should be able to figure this out. Now, you got your worthless ones that don't want to really plan for the future or anything and just kind of mooch off the day, right? They're not putting anything back, they're taking. That's fine. They're probably not going to get it because they don't want to. But for anyone who's got a little half of a brain, you can see what's going on. The powers at play, right? So how do they trump God? Well, they just mail in ballots. They make up ballots because God can't stop that, right? And then, okay, it's not official, right? But what are they doing? They're speaking into existence, right? I had no clue this was going on during the weekend. Out busy in the yard, getting the garden cleaned up. We're finishing up the property chores, getting ready for winter. And I go to my parents' house to watch the Buckeyes game. Go Buckeyes, looking strong. Thank God for football, right? Big football fan. But anyways, Notre Dame game was on with Clemson, right? And we're flipping back and forth because the Buckeyes are taking care of business. It was like 7-35 at halftime. But anyways, trick plays, whatever. If you're a sports fan, there was a lot of trick plays that game. But we flip it over to the Clemson game, and they're like, the Democrats are on there saying that they won the election. And I'm like, this is a joke. Turn it off. Put it on USA because they shed the game to USA. But thinking about it and realizing it and looking at it, what are they trying to do? They're trying to speak it into existence. They're trying to get you to accept it, right? That's that law of attraction, right? And they're using it because they know it exists, right? And they're trying to speak it into existence, except we ain't having that, right? We ain't playing those games. So, the spiritual warfare is real. And dipping one foot in the collectiveness and one foot into the God essence, in my opinion, was the way to go, right? Is the way we can heal and the way we can help the collective consciousness pull into the God consciousness, right? Well, not exactly, okay? So when we put our energies aside into these different collective consciousnesses, right, we're essentially lowering our vibes in order to do so, which I'm okay with that because it's a learning experience. Plus, I bring back knowledge and it helps me transmute things, like I said before. But if we think about this, we're bringing our consciousness, really high up consciousness, we're bringing it down just to understand why everybody's freaking out. You know what I mean? And I've done this over and over again, right? And that was kind of how I've helped and guide you guys, right? As I understand what the collectiveness is going through, I see it, I counter react, and I give you guys the opportunity to give the information of truth through me, to integrate it into you, and to properly play your hand, right? We don't want to show all of our cards, but holy moly. If you can escape duality, do so and don't come back. Now, I obviously work a regular job, right? I'm a quality manager, lead quality manager. Very fun experience, but it's hard to be super flighty, right? I have to have some 3D presence, but I'm also using my higher consciousness to get things done in a very liberated way, right? When I first took over my position, we were losing $200,000 a month, right? We just had our first month. In 6 months, we went from losing $200,000 to gaining $75,000, right? So I know how to get the job done. I know how to use the consciousness to get people's consciousnesses to expand, to buy into change, and to see a change take place. I've done it in multiple different manufacturing companies, right? It's what I excel in, right? I used to be a contract engineer, and that's all I did was go place to place and help this out. Why am I putting this out there is when you understand a situation, you break it down, and you put the right resources towards it to fix it, and you don't see any results, right? Then you contemplate yourself, right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? And that's essentially what's happening when you split consciousness with God and you split consciousness with the collective. Because not all of the collectiveness has accept God, Jesus Christ, source, however you want to call it, right? And if you accept God and source for that and you stay in the God source presence, none of this other stuff is going to bother you at all, okay? It's when we allow ourselves to break away from that just a little bit, right? We're still connected, but we break away just a little bit to understand the collective consciousness. That's when we are receptible to playing the D, right? And so I'm looking at the almanac, and the almanac's got this Bible verse, Matthew 22. And they asked Jesus, they said, should I pay taxes to Caesar? And Jesus replied, pay everything to Caesar's that is Caesar's, and pay everything to God that is God, right? So if you're going to play Caesar's game, you have to pay Caesar. But if you just play God's game, then you only have to account for God. So I think that's interesting, you know? I step back and look at my journey, you know, for the last 4 years, really integrating this life force energy, really expanding my healing abilities and just feeling my body come alive, right? And all I wanted was more juice, right? I want to push power out of my hands, right? Lightning bolts, laser beam out of my eye, you know, just, I don't know. I got a little bit carried away, okay? A little flighty, not so much grounded. But anyways, I wanted to experience that, embody that, take that energy and raise it. Right? You see the lights come up when I raise it. Okay, so all I wanted was more juice, right? But in order to get more juice, you have to be more humble and have more gratitude. The more humble and gratitude you have, the greater projection into source, right? The allowing to be the conduit, right? Accepting Jesus and having Jesus as your God. I don't know. That's a weird way of saying it, but you know how some people say, well, Jesus saved me, right? Back in the day, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, Jesus can't save anyone, he's dead. But now I get it, right? They put the power of the Lord in them, and the power of the Lord accelerate them through their life, you know, and really change things for them. And instead of having bad luck all the time, they started having good luck, right? So we put all that on the table, okay? All I wanted was more juice. And what happened was I got a closer connection to God. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't looking for that. But in order for me to attain more healing capabilities, more juice, more responsibilities, I had to embody that Christ consciousness, become the Christ consciousness, right? And then be the conduit, right? Do things that I don't necessarily want to do, but it needs to be done in order for the whole to heal. And because of that mindset, that's when I kind of broke away from God and went into that collective consciousness, kind of teeter-totter in the two, right? But I'm here to tell you guys right now, there's no need to do that. You feel like you need to do that, but here's the kicker, here's the truth, here is the lesson, okay? When you expand yourself, when you take on that God consciousness, you raise your frequency to levels that some people can't even comprehend, right? And the amount of frequency, vibration, and life force energy that flows through your body is quite magnificent, okay? But you stay in that presence, right? And you don't understand how high frequency you always are. So when you're not teeter-tottering back and forth, you're staying in that God consciousness, you're staying high vibe, right? So think about it from this perspective. And if you're young, don't go do this. But let's say you smoke a little marijuana, right? The first time it's like everything's crazy in your whole body, like you're just wigging out, right? But then if you do it for a couple months and don't take any breaks, it's like it barely has any effect. Well, think about the same concept with your consciousness, right? It's a very jittery experience. It's very empowering, but it's also it fluctuates your endorphins. So it's like a high, okay? But then you get really used to staying on a high frequency and you don't notice it, right? But then when you dip really low, you're like, oh, what happened, And that's kind of how I was, right? And I didn't beg and I didn't whine, but in the same sense, it was very interesting to see how one can go from such a high consciousness to such a low vibration and be controlled by a man-made frequency, let's call it that, right? So where I'm getting at, what I'm saying is, put your faith in God, right? Become God-headed, right? Put the God-head on. I know it's a lot of responsibility because you are God, right? But really integrate that, right? And embody it, and then just be it, all right? Don't worry about the collective consciousness. You're not in it. It's okay to study it, but don't be involved in it. What do I mean by don't be involved in it? Don't quantum entangle yourself in it, right? When you think about it, you project out, right? Projection isn't always the best, but when you're projecting out, you're allowing that to come back. So if you're projecting out all these weird scenarios because you're a little lost and you need to go inward for answers, but you keep going outward for answers, it's going to keep snowballing into craziness, right? Because of that extra outwardness, right? Because you got to bring it all back in. So as we take a second, as we realize we are under attack, but in the same sense, we don't have to feel the attack, right? We embody God, put our faith in God. God takes care of the rest. And like I was saying, I didn't expect this mindset of wisdom to take over, right? All I wanted was more juice. I wanted to feel so much energy coming out of my hand. I wanted to put my hands on someone and just shake them. Because that's what I thought we were going to do. We were going to shake everyone awake. But apparently, people got to wake up on their own, and they got to choose to, and then they got to want to, and then they got to put the work and effort in, and then you just keep working and working and working and working and working, and you eventually internally become into this God space, and it becomes the training grounds for your consciousness. The more you're able to go there, the more you're able to rise, the more you're able to stair step, climb Jacob's ladder, and reach the pearly gates. And then once you hit the pearly gates, sky's the limit from there, right? That's about 6 deep. And yeah. No need to break all the dimensions down. I'm sure you guys are watching those in plenty of other videos, but just the key is, okay, I'm back, I'm good. I'm shining, I'm vibrant. To understand where we put our energy, to understand where our mindset's at, and to understand through thought, we can control our projection, right? And then if we don't think, we don't project. And the less we project, the more we can counter-react. I'm very expressive. I'm a Leo. I love using my voice and expressions and really just talking to someone and making them vibe to me through my communicational skills, right? But sometimes it's good to sit back and be quiet. That's a lesson for me. Obviously not one of my strengths, but let's think about it this way. The cards are being shown. The hands at play, right? Especially with this election stuff. Like, okay, they said God intervened in 2016. They came up with these mail-in ballots and all these ways to corrupt the system in order to not allow God to intervene. Then they come out, speak it into existence, and say, I'm the winner, right? Without officially being the winner. Okay? And you realize no riots, nobody's out freaking out or whatever. You know, around December 12th to the 14th, somewhere in there, they're going to come out. And I personally feel like it's going to be a tie. And then they're going to have to go to somebody else. But in the same sense, nothing's going to happen until at least the 12th of December. So you got now until the 12th of December. Why are you going to sit around and let it fluctuate your energy? Let it fluctuate your consciousness. Let it fluctuate your thought pattern. Let it fluctuate your trajectory in life, right? It doesn't matter who's there. It doesn't matter what happens around you. You control your reality, right? So no matter what is happening, if the sky is falling, you can still every day pick yourself up and be better than the day you were before. And if you keep trying to better yourself, improve yourself every day in and day out, there is no reason why you will not achieve greatness. And when you step into greatness and you close your eyes and you look at me and see a reflection of beautiful energy just vibrating, you understand not only where the truth comes from, but where it all drives from. And that is the core within inside you. That's always been the message. That always will be the message. So guys, D's back, found the peak of the mountain, feeling very extraordinary. But I really want to point it out, you know, we're under attack. How to not get under attack. How to really break away, right? And that's to step into God consciousness. Okay? And if that's a hard one for you to understand, think about it, just work with the angels, right? Because the angels will take you to Creator, Jesus, Yeshua, however you want to explain it. They will point you in the right direction, right? Everybody always says, Jesus, I found Jesus, right? Well, in my case, Jesus found me. And I'm so thankful he did. Because it's allowed me to really expand my energy, raise my frequency, and bring heaven to earth. So guys, I hope you all are doing well. I hope everybody's doing great. Most importantly, you stay you. You be true. And until next time, guys, peace! Oh boy.